since we did a play and talk, but we have got a lot to talk about. Especially, I'm Novarock, and welcome to Play and Talking. This is wow, Shadowhawk. Wow, I pushed it up. I pushed the intro. Wow, I'm rusty. So,
yeah, I know it's been a while.
Yeah. So anyway, there's there's quite a lot to talk about, especially that PlayStation that PlayStation show like a week or two ago. Oh, I think I see your can. That's why. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, there you are.
So, let's start off with the big news from PlayStation. And what really caught my interest was the announcement of the remake for Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, and there's the mole rat.
Where?
I just killed it. Don't worry.
Alright. Alright, now you just appeared. But, it's just that for me, I just felt like when hearing the news of it, just kind of had a more bothered feeling by it. Because where I felt that the last few Star Wars games that we've been having have actually been about trying to go and do their own thing and try to basically keep telling new stories, which I feel that since we're in a rebooted timeline of Star Wars, it was the best thing for you to really do for something like that. Whereas having it here, where it basically has it where it's just pretty much still the same story, but they confirm that they'll only change details to better sync up with canon, because this game will actually be canonical.
Oh shit, really? Oh, that's awesome!
So for me, it's just that for me, the problem is that it has that kind of feeling of just, well then, why would you not take full advantage of that endless possibilities a rebooted timeline gives you, just to go, yeah, we're basically just gonna go end up doing the same game that a lot of you remember, with only really the gameplay being what actually changes, really.
I'm not sure about that. Hang on.
This unit will not be accepting requests to...
where are you? Oh, you just graphing.
We apologize for the inconvenience.
There we go. Sorry about that. I just got a call. I just got a bit of a call from my mother. Personal stuff.
Oh, it's okay. It's alright.
So anyway, I'm actually really excited for what for to see the what's changed and what stays the same in Star Wars: Old Republic. We really do not know squat about what's gonna change. I'm down for it.
So far, they did confirm it would be a full remake, but from what has actually been said, it looks as if what they're going to mainly be doing is having it where the story will still functionally be the same. It's just going to be just an instance of where, or instances of where they just change some details so it can sit better with canon, such as it's not going to take place 4,000 years, I doubt. And it'll probably be for some other things, since the High Republic era basically has only 300 years before, and the galaxy is largely unexplored. So maybe they'll change some of the planets around, so that way they can try to make it fit in better with that. But overall, it will still, from what I'm seeing, basically just be largely the same game. It is still Revan that we see. Basilisk coming back because it was confirmed that Jennifer Hale is returning to go and voice her. So with all those things, and it's just a feeling of just like, yeah, okay, sure, but why don't you just take full advantage of it, though, when it could have even having something where it could have been a High Republic kind of game, or even just something else entirely, because I'm also not getting quite the feeling that Revan is going to have some big reimagining of it.
Make Revan look like Brie Larson, because that would piss off some people. I'm sorry.
Honestly, if they just made Revan a woman, that alone would already be worth the internet tears by people who claim so hard that they love Revan, and just to be like, yeah, that's the case. Hell, that's why I would say, well, Brie Larson is a great actress, so it's not even we would lose anything.
Yeah.
But even still, it would just be very amazing just to see them absolutely blow their minds off.
I just wanted to say it because I'm just like bored.
So for me, I would just be like, hell yeah, by all means, go and use her to do so. But on the serious note, for me, I just have I just instead have more of the feeling of just kind of like, with that, because on some level, even though I know that's not how it is, but some of me does end up just feeling like that this was, in some part, basically brought on by wanting to cater to the more hostile end of the fandom by going, yes, we'll go with this specific game since we are allowed to do it now. Again, I know
Wireless Queen.
So, much like that, it ends up being something where I feel like, yes, I understand that it's not actually doing that, basically, but still, nevertheless, it just has kind of that feeling of just where I still wanted to do its own thing, regardless of whatever it ended up being. I still think that, because with a rebooted timeline, I feel that that's the perfect opportunity for you to do new stuff, basically.
Well, I'm more down for post-Skywalker Saga entries. I'm kind of down with this to see what, like I said, to see.
No, I think by making a non-film, a game not surrounded with any of the films, no, that's a great idea. I actually support it, but it's just rather having that specific IP do so. And I can understand why, because Knights of the Old Republic is the most successful Star Wars gaming series that's ever come out of it. So therefore, it's not a logical place to start. But I do feel that if that was the level where they go for, I would have preferred if they just had more.
What is interesting is that EA is not working on the game. It was the company that was that worked on I think was like various remasters for Star Wars Commando, Republic Commando. Sorry. Not sure what the A-Spy. Do you remember what it's called?
What it's called?
The company that's working on the remake, who also did like remasters of various Star Wars games. I forgot what it's called because I'm in the middle of getting my ass beaten by a fucking violent queen.
I'm actually not sure who it is, though. But yeah, but again, I would say that the audience who plays it is going to be fine, and it doesn't matter. I can't play it anyway. I don't have a PC or.
That's what like throws me out. It's probably not going to be out for the PS5. I mean Xbox.
I will admit, I'm more surprised that it was allowed to be exclusive.
Ironic, since Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic started out as a exclusive for the original Xbox.
I know, how ironic, and now it's a PlayStation exclusive. I'm just more surprised that they allowed it to begin with, because I would have imagined that Lucasfilm Games would have just had the attitude of like, no, we want this to be everywhere.
Apparently, Sony must have gotten a better deal.
Maybe it looks like they did. Yeah, that's my only thing I'm feeling on it though, because like, sure, because of course I always want to be excited about new Star Wars games, but admittedly I still want to have a view where I feel like there are fresh things coming in though, because admittedly, because as time has gone on, I found that because of how the Star Wars characters, the bad fandoms in particular, were Revan especially, because of how hyper-perfect he always is, but yet people will always be able to insist that he totally wasn't. I mean, again, I'll always think the funniest example of that was like, was Freya being like, oh yeah, the Republic being all attacked, that was Revan's plan to make them stronger later in the time.
Yeah,
like,
that kind of sounds like bullshit. If you think about it.
Yeah, from KOTOR 2, much as I love that game, I still just like, yeah, that is so comical that basically Revan's idea to make the Republic stronger was to put a ward that basically crippled the Republic government, but it was like, it somehow ended up...
That sounds like it came out of it sounds like a retcon for a comic book. Which one is the right one? Like when Green Lantern goes evil and it's like, oh no, he's been possessed by the weird little entity of fear.
Where they ended up, it was, I think it was David Ward, Grant Morrison, I think it was, where he was the one who was like, oh yeah, Green Lantern, this whole genocidal rampage after the death of Superman story. Oh no, that was actually, he was possessed by the space bug of fear, the embodiment.
Embodiment, it's like, that's bullshit. That's an absolute horseshit.
I'll always think that if anything, yes, because I know that Chris Avalon was the head writer for it, so therefore he has sex past himself. Where I just end up thinking to myself, like, man, as all things to come up with, that is just such a possible thing. And the thing is that the game never says that what Freya says is wrong, because at the end of the day, Freya is portrayed where everything she said is more or less right, especially with regards to weather. So it's like, yeah, so we basically had it where a guy ended up crippling a government to make it stronger. Because, you know, when I want to make someone stronger, I shoot them in the meat traps and then tell them that's how they'll get it. Well, at least it won't have his writing attached to it, so at least I'll be glad for that.
Yeah, I kind of see how it would like impact like Star Wars: The Old Republic, because that
admittedly, it also feels very sad that unfortunately John Saigon and shit, I can't remember his other, and I'll say in just a bit. Let's see, looking it up real quick.
Okay, can you also look up the name of that company, because I'm in the middle of getting my ass kicked by the Mileworks.
Robin Sachs, yeah, that's what it was. Robin Sachs and John Saigon unfortunately passed away. John Saigon voiced Chris Ordo, and Robin Sachs voiced Saul Harith, who you also know as voicing Zaid in Mass Effect.
Oh shit! So they had to make some necessary changes.
So I'm guessing that, so it looks as if by and large the actors who voiced them who are still like are like Vermel is returning to voice Bastila. I would imagine that Catherine Taper is going to come back to voice Mission Leia. I imagine Raphael Sturridge is I don't know pronounce his last name, where he's going to come back to voice Karth. I imagine things like that.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how they will handle re-voice casting Canderous, because it's clear that they're not going the Mass Effect Legendary route of where we're just updating graphics but the story is the same and therefore the voice acting is the same. In this case, this is no, we're going with entirely new imaginings, and so we're going to have new voice actors as a result.
I remember, speaking of Mass Effect, I remember when my brother was planning for, like, say, a remake of like Mass Effect 1 to increase gameplay, and vice versa with yeah, you know, if I first had like a remake of 2 and 3 with Mass Effect 1's gameplay, I pointed out to him that's consistent, and like, no, that is just like unfeasible, impractical.
Yeah. So that's why I just say that in regards to it, that again, it's not something that I'm really fond of. From there, because as I said, I very much want to always be able to look forward to things, and no, it's not because it's a non-EA game. Again, yes, I would like to see what other people outside EA have for stuff, but like I still want them to make new stuff, though, at the end of the day. Like, regardless of whatever I think of the quality is, like, for instance, even though I'm a big iffy on the Battlefront 2 campaign, I still appreciate that Motive actually saw it, because the story parts were handled by Motive, where it was like, hey, I'd like you to be able to see what you want to bring to the table, what new characters you want to bring to it.
Yeah, speaking of Motive, they're working on the remake for the first Dead Space game, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, and I also want to say that I'm not against remakes as a whole, though, for games. I do think that they serve a purpose on some level. Like, for instance, sometimes it could be things like in the case of Mass Effect, it's like, hey, so we have a new Mass Effect game that's going to be coming out, so while we still wait on that specific game, how about we just go and we release a remaster of the original trilogy, so as to get people excited about it. Okay, that's a great idea. Or in the case of Dead Space, where it was a completely dormant franchise that hasn't been producing anything in years, so therefore a remake was probably the best thing you really could have asked to have for it.
Alright, so I'm looking at the name of the company, and it's making me by Aspyr. A-S-P-Y-R, Aspyr Media. There we go. I think some of the people who work on the who are at Bioware would also be working. Okay, where's that noise? What is that noise? Oh shit! Legendary crafting.
Yeah, you can now craft legendary mods now, when you actually have the proper stuff for it.
That's fair.
Ooh, legendary cores. I didn't actually know that legendary cores would be an event reward. That's nice to know.
Yeah. Another.
But yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what to go back on topic. But yeah, that's why I want to show that I'm not some sort of anti-remake thing. I think remakes absolutely provide a wide variety of possibilities.
Like,
but I just,
like Final Fantasy, like the remake for Final Fantasy VII, went in a completely different direction from the original version of Final Fantasy VII.
Now, I never played the original Final Fantasy VII, but what I'm saying is strictly based on what I was told. That was that, yeah, Final Fantasy VII was, aside from the characters, it was pretty much an entirely different game from what was there. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually a pretty interesting route to go to. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely on board with it.
Yeah.
So hence why for that I was just like, yeah, that sounds neat though for it. But for this case, it seems as if because I'm not talking about gameplay, but for Final Fantasy VII, I'm referring to the story. That from what I was told, the story was very different.
Yeah, the story was
from what Final Fantasy VII.
Yes, it's very different. I can't. I'm gonna play it safe and not say it out of spoilers. Let's just say that, especially near the end, it goes in a different direction. Well,
yeah, that's what I've been told as well. So I'm like, yeah, so for things like that, I totally don't mind for it. So Knights of the Old Republic, as far as bringing a game series, I was totally on board with it. Obviously, I love the Battlefront games that we got recently. So therefore, I was like, yeah, so, you know, having a series that we bring back, but we have entirely new imaginings, okay, sweet. That's an absolutely great thing to do. But with the KOTOR remake, I'm just not getting the sense that this will be a reimagining in so much as it's really just, well, we update gameplay because, yeah, let's be clear here, they are not going to do the original D&D-ish kind of gameplay that they did in the original.
That was actually what makes me wonder if they're going to get the license for D&D for obvious reasons, because so long story short, KOTOR
that the original KOTOR's game was basically stuff from the Wizards of the Coast card games that were that they based it off of in the
not
90s,
card games.
And that's what they used there.
Not card games, but the D20 system that was used for Star Wars, for the Star Wars role-playing game, at least, the revised version for the Saga edition, different story, essentially 3rd edition or 3.5. That is what that's what the KOTOR games use, like way back in the day.
So yeah, that's why I always say that, like, yeah, let's be clear, they are not going to use the original system there. They are probably going to have it do just like what BioWare did with Mass Effect 1, which is try to make it more in line with other Star Wars games. Admittedly, this is the one area where I don't really know what they would use as inspiration, because keep in mind, it's you use blasters kind of first, where there are blasters and lightsaber combat and melee combat as a whole. So I'm not sure where to go off with that, because the only game of reference I have for something that allows you to use lightsabers and blasters simultaneously is really only the Jedi Knight games, but I don't think they're going to be going that route.
It might be closer to like the earlier versions of Star Wars: The Old Republic. It uses its own system, its own stats, before they combine some of the stats into mastery to streamline things. So I'm just wondering. I would be really surprised if they decide to go with D&D 5th edition. Really surprised. Because there are only like 2 games out there right now that use the D&D 5th edition. No, 3 games. 3 games.
So yeah,
Star Wars.
Honestly, this is the one area where with Knights of the Old Republic, admittedly, there's no shortage of possibilities the gameplay could be used to change up in, though. Because I don't think it's going to be doing the Fallen Order thing, because I don't think that gameplay would mix with something like the kind of game that KOTOR is.
It wouldn't. So there are 3 games that that are based on or use the 5th edition rule set. Baldur's Gate 3, Sword Coast Legends, and it's not a D related one. It's the name completely escapes me. Video games that use 5th edition rules.
And summon forth his divine presence.
So that's what my feelings are.
At Solastar, Crown of the Magister. There we go.
So that's why I say that, like, obviously, if you are looking forward to it, I'm not going to seek to take away your excitement of it, though. Like, by all means, be excited for it. That's just only my views on it. Because keep in mind, like, I certainly always want to be happy with every Star Wars game that comes out. I always look forward to them.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to be where I feel like there's just an element where it just feels like we're retreading ground. Because, as I said in the Discord server, because with a rebooted timeline, that's endless possibilities you have. You really are, and especially in the game scene, you're pretty much unrestricted in what you can do.
Though, on the other hand, the current continuity has been bringing in elements from the Legends continuity. Ooh.
Oh, of course, they brought stuff from there. However, I wouldn't say that canon is basically just, okay, we're the Legends timeline, but maybe we just nixed some of the more non-popular stuff. It is still, as far as I'm concerned, from what's going on, still its own thing. And I saw both the sequel trilogy and the High Republic books basically showing that it is seeking to do its own thing, instead of just, okay, we're just going to do all the stuff Legends did.
Yeah, my brother always wanted to see like KOTOR back in continuity.
Which, yeah, I could see as to why he would seek to want that, though. But yeah, that's just ultimately my feelings on it, though, because I'm not even against bringing characters from Legends into to bring them into the fold for this one. I'm by no means against that. I'm like, by all means, yeah, let's do that then. However, for me, what I don't want is for it to be a scenario where we just have them be the same character. I still want to see reimaginings of what it is that we've seen before.
Yep, you'd be surprised. Anyway, so there's one other Star Wars game before we move on to the rest of the PlayStation presentation. Star Wars Hunters. This MOBA, it seems to be like a bit of a mix between MOBA and like Overwatch and stuff. That's
what I've seen as well, and I'm just admittedly like, I was quite surprised. I know it was announced last year, I think it was like late last year or something, where I remember a lot of people were all, oh my god, like it's a mobile game, really? But then when people started seeing that, it started turning into an ironically more positive thing. Like, oh, it's actually doing something really cool with it.
I actually kind of like the art style, based on like from Overwatch, Fortnite. I just kind of like that art style of. I'm not sure what it was actually exactly called, but Fortnite style seems to be pretty close. I really like that style.
Yeah, I get it, and overall I like the style as well. Admittedly, it is certainly a very curious thing, although it doesn't really seem to have any sort of hard story connotation, so I get the feeling this may be a Galaxy of Heroes kind of situation, where it's more of just people witnessing things, but it's not really a thing that exists. Like how in Galaxy of Heroes, the ultimate premise for everything going on is that people in a cantina, they're basically playing games against each other, and they're just doing mashups of characters that are from the known Star Wars history, and then just using that.
That's solid. That's actually pretty solid premise.
Yeah, that's also what it is. Actually, I really like this.
A droid, I like in a Star Wars Hunter. We see like a droid, Jedi, a Mandalorian, an ex-stormtrooper. Surprisingly, if you think about it, you get it.
Yeah. So certainly is something that's certainly interesting, and I'm really wondering how it's going to go. Because this is surprising, where I'm actually not seeing a lot of hate for what this game is going to be. Admittedly, it's kind of surprising to me, because I'm like, but why did this game not get the lashings? Because, like, again, I'm not saying that it should be getting lashings, but I'm genuinely shocked that this game really isn't.
Maybe Star Wars founder is mellowing out.
Huh?
Maybe the founder is mellowing out. It's like, maybe we should...
Oh, no, highly doubt there. But I would say that for it, because I remember that there was some disappointment of there being a mobile one, because they thought that it was taking the place of a AAA game being there, which is always like, sidebar, no, there isn't actually being any kind of thing that's like, oh no, we're not going to allow you, trying to think of this, any kind of instance that's like, oh, we're not going to, I'm trying to think, where it's taken away from a AAA game's release. They are all under multiplayer things, and mobile will not be something that's affecting the AAA scene.
Right. Anyway, so another thing from PlayStation's presentation is the announcement of the second main Spider-Man game. to say that.
I mean, so yeah, looks like that finally we're about to finally see Peter Parker and Miles Morales actually have a full team-up thing, as opposed to where it was sort of where they both had their own games previously. So that's really neat.
Yeah. Also, Tony Todd will be voicing Venom, which is like a very, very nice surprise.
I remember when I first heard the name, people saying it like I was supposed to know who that is, and when I did a cursory glance, it's like, oh, this guy's been around. Apparently, he
did the Candyman. Candyman. Wait, he's been in a lot of stuff, including the
He also played in
Final Destination. Final Destination.
He also played apparently one of the main antagonists of the Flash as well, and he was very well received there. And apparently also acted in Platoon as well. So
Platoon. Never heard of that.
It's an old but really well-liked war movie among a lot of critics.
Ooh. Yeah.
So, yeah, I was like, oh, so then, yeah, that's really cool, though. Certainly wouldn't have expected his caliber of voice acting to be brought into that.
Yeah, Tony Todd is...
At least from what I've seen, he hasn't done much in the realm of voice acting, so maybe it was just an instance of where he was just like, wow, I really like this franchise, and I just really want to do it. I mean, that happens. Matthew Perry of Friends fame, he was really into the Fallout games, and so that's why when Obsidian came around, they were just like, oh, hey, like, we'll offer you this role since you like this series, and he took it in a heartbeat. It still remains his only voice acting credit for that reason.
Apparently, I managed to get the awards for the Swarm of Suitors while I'm in the middle of another one. I don't know. Or at least I got notified until later. So it's like, really? There's no timing there, and I'm out of ammo. Like, okay, not out of ammo anymore. Yeah, Tony Todd will make an excellent voice for Red. If you watch at least some clips of the Candyman movies, you'll see why.
Yeah, so I certainly look forward to that. I also kind of feel like it's kind of interesting that Venom's eyes in Spider-Man 2, they kind of give me the same vibes as the way his eyes look in the most recent Venom movie, as opposed to other ones like, for instance, my only other live-action reference being Spider-Man 3, where they're more, I guess, kind of dry-looking instead of more like, more like sort of very liquidy eyes, I guess, basically.
Honestly, I prefer that look for Venom over what was seen in Spider-Man 3. It's more like...
Where it has a very... It doesn't even really look like eyes in so much as it's
like
really
lens.
just more like...
Lens. Huh? It's just like another... It's just like the Spider-Man. Oh, fuck! If you could help me out, that would be great.
Yeah. Where are you? I don't know where you are.
At the lighthouse. At the lighthouse. I got a toad after me. It wants to eat my guts.
I'll just go fast travel directly to you.
Good idea.
But,
ow.
Yeah. So that's what I'm ultimately anticipating for the whole thing. So I would say that because the hope for me is that next year I could be able, whether it's my tax returns or whatever, because I still didn't get mine, or I could try to get a PS5 with that, because I honestly really do want to try to get a PlayStation 5 so I can play the exclusives I really want to.
Oh, I do not blame you. There are some exclusives out there that are just... It's like, oh, to be fair...
It's just, man, the main problem is just that, like, that unfortunately it's just that people keep scalping them, and it's so freaking hard. I even just recently for the Series X, where I started having it where I started putting some notifications on me to make sure that for the restocks, but even still...
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get an Xbox Series X at Target.
On the website or the store?
Yes.
No, I'm saying the website, or like you went to your local Target. And
I managed to buy it online. Then I went to the local store.
Oh, that's nice. That's what I mean with it.
Yeah, I was able to get one thanks to this one guy who like put his ear to the ground, notify people.
Matt Swider, you said that. I think you said you got it from.
Yes, that's the guy.
Yeah, I have it where my tweets are on notifications, so that way, if he goes and has a notification of when a restock is there, I'll be able to see it there.
Which is so nice.
Yeah, because he's the only chance I have to actually get a Series X.
Yeah. I take it's not working out for you so far because everybody's just like, whoa, I got it. It's like first one to get it is first one to get is
Like
not.
even when it's only been around for 5 minutes, and they'll still say that. They say, "Oh, keep refreshing," so that way it'll be there. But honestly, who even knows anymore? Because I always remember that there was a time where I was like so close to getting a Series X, and what happened was that when I was actually in the checkout phase and I was about to finally just input my final bit of information, and instead, what happened was that once I was hitting purchase after I finished all of it, and it said that, oh no, your cart is empty, and apparently it was taken out, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Whoa! What happened?
It's like I was in the purchase of buying it. If it's in my cart and I'm on a time limit, I'm entitled to go and make sure that it stays there.
That's so. I thought you said cart, not cart, but still, it's just like, damn it.
Like, it was so close to that. That's why I'm pissed off to this day about that, because I was so close.
Alright, falling down. Ow. I don't think we were able to get enough, like, bioluminescent fluids in the, into the lamp. Weird thing to say, out of context. Especially if you leave out, bioluminescent. I don't think I have enough fluids in the lamp. How weird would that sound?
Sounds weird, alright. But, yeah, that's just my only thoughts on the matter, when it comes to that, because, like, once I get that Series X, I'll be able to best enjoy other stuff, though, as well, because I really want to be able to, go and experience things on a new console.
Oh, like 60 frames per second on, for Fallout 76.
Yeah, that would be very nice. I mean, I assume that you're playing crossplay with me on it.
Cross-gen, but yes.
Cross-gen, yeah.
Cross-gen. I wonder if crossplay is out there for Fallout 76. I know it has.
These toads just keep being around.
It's an event. You're surprised?
Oh, it's just that, like, I thought the event was already over.
Yeah, I want to stuff these the fluids into the lamp. Wow, that sounds weird. Out of context.
Yeah, but yeah, that's just what my thoughts were on it.
Anyway,
so like, hopefully, I'm just hoping that Insomniac will be able to have that. It's just that what I wasn't really particularly crazy for was when it was the news announcement that Wolverine was the next game that they were working on.
Honestly,
because for me,
honestly, I was hoping that Wolverine and Spider-Man would be set in the same universe. Because to me,
I'm very certain that they're going to be. I mean, I'm just like, if you already have the Avengers already in Spider-Man's universe, because you can actually see Avengers Tower when you're there, you may as well just have the X-Men in there, especially when there's no pesky rights issue on that anymore.
Until, hopefully the deal continues. I would love to see that.
Well, the thing is that Disney owns the X-Men now. It's not like a shared thing anymore.
I was talking about between Spider-Man, I was actually referring to Spider-Man.
Oh. Well, even still, I'm sure that it'll still,
It'll work out. It'll work out.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm just like putting my fingers crossed because I was really upset about the last time. Because I really want to like see Spider-Man stay in the MCU because given Sony's past history with live-action versions of Spider-Man, yeah, I'll just have, you know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah, I get what it is from there, because honestly, even if Disney were to own everything in the Marvel stuff, I just really don't see why I should have a problem with that. But yeah, I'm more than happy to not care that Warner Brothers owns literally every DC character that exists.
Not sure
it would come across to me as being hypocritical to go and say that, oh my god, it's terrible for them to own more of the Marvel stuff, but meanwhile, I'm just like, oh, but Warner Brothers every DC character that exists, sure, why not?
Mothman, get your blessing for the Mothman. Oh god. Don't shoot the Mothman! This Mothman is friendly. It doesn't have red eyes.
Oh, okay. I think that the only instances I met the Mothman, he had red eyes and he tried to kill me.
I remember there was just like this alien-looking thing, like with a purple glowing head that's like killing me. He's like, what the fuck is that? They didn't even say what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really, I'm actually honestly happy to see a Wolverine game of this, because the last time we had a Wolverine game, it was X-Men Origins Wolverine. I heard the game version is much
a game
better.
that was actually, I was told that even regardless of the movie, that the game actually was very good.
It's better than the movie, and it's not a low bar. Yeah, the bar was set low, and the game just like decided to do multiple front flips, 10 feet above the bar, just for kicks.
Like, admittedly, it's not something that I think has no sort of thing to it, because of course, though, Wolverine's probably like the second most popular character that Marvel has. It's just that for me, I was just hoping that they would have, that since they're on an exclusive platform and have subsidization, that they would be more willing to use other characters, sort of like what the MCU has been doing, by constantly giving giving more characters with different, giving those. Like, for instance, I don't think anyone in their right minds would have thought Ant-Man would have had his own film.
Oh, speaking of Marvel, have you so you talked about it on Discord about playing the Avengers game. How was it?
The Marvel's Avengers game by Square Enix was overall a really good game. It had plenty of flaws that were attached to it. Like I feel, for instance, that the biggest one is mainly that it really incentivizes you to main a character, but if you ever decide you want to switch, it doesn't see fit to make it where you could be able to go and switch to them without having to do a lot of backtracking and catching up with them. So not an element that I feel is great, but overall it is what it is there. But overall I still liked it. The gameplay was very fun. I really liked how the characters interacted. I still especially loved how Kamala Khan and how she ended up bringing them together. It's actually for me a kind of funny thing that's like, ironically, by changing the demographics of the character, it can be able to not feel fan servicey. So, yeah, that's why for me, I'm very happy that they did that. And that's why for me, where regardless of the quality of it or the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy game they're making, where they're at least trying to give games to things that didn't properly have them before, because the Avengers never had a proper Avengers game. There were games that featured them, yes, but not one that was ever focused on them.
The last game that Guardians appeared in as a whole was by Telltale.
Yeah. So, overall, that's why I operate with a kind of view of just like, you know, it would just be great to see that, though. I'm just most interested, though, on what exactly,
I heard it was really rough when it first launched. And before... I heard it had a somewhat rough launch.
The Avengers game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was told so too. I mean, I wasn't there when it first came out, so maybe there were a lot more issues than was given that was there. But at least from what I can say of where the game is at right now, it's at a very good place overall, despite some frustrations that I have.
Would it help if there if there are like two types of levels, that like one that's shared across all characters and another that's like for specific characters, or am I just like doing it?
I'm not really sure. I just think it just would be nice where if gear that you got was more of a universal thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. You said it better than I could.
Yeah, where it would be as in, like, even if you had some Marvel Avengers who were Reaper, it would be, I say, like, ideally, it would have been something like what Anthem did, where even if you had classes who were Reaper, they were not Reaper by much, and nothing that a Mission 2 couldn't bring them up to speed on in terms of power.
I'm kind of surprised that they didn't, learn, that they didn't go that route. I'm just saying.
Yeah, so that's why for me it has that kind of frustrating factor, because for me, like, I really like how all the Avengers feel, though, because the main problem I had with games like Marvel Ultimate Alliance was I never really felt like the gameplay was really showcasing how the characters actually were in their personalities. I always felt as if that all of them more or less played the same feeling-wise. Whereas in Marvel's Avengers, I genuinely feel like there's always difference. When I play as Hulk, I can see the brute force nature and how strong he is, even if I feel that for the type of class he is, he deserves to be more durable. Whereas then, when I switch over to Iron Man, I can see how much he relies on his range to be able to go and do what he does.
And he
and
flies.
It always feels great.
And he flies.
Yeah, that too.
The thing that always like seems to irk me a little about the game is the lack of enemy. There's not much in the way of enemy variety. You just fight against robots and aiming. It's like I love to see.
Yeah, that is certainly a very fair critique of it because it does lack in that category.
I love to see like you fight like say Hydra for example, or like Boundless Forces, or enemy like the Brotherhood of Mutants. That one.
Sure. So yeah, that's what I mean with stuff like that, though, but ultimately is what it's going to be. But I also feel that the game perfectly illustrates as to why always the Avengers cast had to be diverse in their skill sets. For instance, I know in the MCU it is very popular to always meme about how in their minds it makes no sense how Black Widow and Hawkeye are Avengers when so far she uses guns and knows kung fu and he owns a bow and arrow. But it's mainly because when you have superpower team-ups, you need to have all the characters feeling distinct whenever fights are breaking out. You have the Hulk, who is very strong and uses his durability to be able to get closer to enemies. You have Iron Man, who flies around and uses technology to always aid in the fights. You have Thor, who's a more supernatural person, where he uses lightning, his hammer, as well as also his ability to fly to always go and be able to fight enemies.
Yep.
You have Captain America, who uses his shield, who we can always to always bounce around. Black Widow often uses guns and hand-to-hand combat, so therefore there's that dynamic going on. And then you have Hawkeye, who uses arrows. And in the case of other instances, you have Black Panther, who uses his claws. And in the movies, I don't know if the comics do the same, but in the movies, like how he can build up his armor to use shockwaves, things like that, because you want them to all feel distinct from each other. This is the problem that the Defenders show on Netflix had, where all the characters were pretty much the same.
I was about to point that out because all of them were just like they punch. One has a glowing fist. Yay! It's like seriously, give us variety, and that's what part of the problem is with the first Suicide Squad movie. By the way, I watched the one made by James Gunn. Really good. Holy shit.
Really good indeed. But yeah, that's what I always mention is always the sort of thing you have to keep in mind when it comes to fight scenes like that. Yes, even if they don't have powers, so it can seem kind of strange how they would be, but it's because you always want that kind of variety when you're seeing that. Because at the end of the day, you don't want all of them to be, yeah, we're just people who can punch very hard.
Because what would be the point of that?
Of course.
Sorry, I'm just... Oh, speaking of the MCU, I've actually been catching up on like shows and the movies. Like Black Widow's really good.
I have been too.
Yeah, Black Widow Shang-Chi was really good. Black Widow was really good.
It was. I saw Black Widow with my girlfriend earlier this year, and it was really good. I overall really enjoyed the movie, though. I mean, as I said, though, like, it does suck that her movie ended up coming after she died, which, again, sucks.
It happens.
Overall,
it happens.
But
a good part of it is because of, I think, of Ike's, previous CEO of
Ike Perlmutter.
Ike Perlmutter.
So, yeah, I would say that, so far, that it was still overall, like, a really good film to be able to watch. Shang-Chi was also really good. I've now seen it twice. I'll probably go and see it again later this week because it was a really solid film.
Oh yeah, the Mandarin is really good. He has a real name. The name escapes me. I'm not good at names. Hello? Uh-oh. Did something happen? Oh, must muted.
Serve and protect.
Alright, I'm back, sorry.
Did something happen?
Yeah, my family has just gave me, they just had to go get some stuff then. But, but yeah, because saw Shang-Chi and really ended up liking it, really liked what What If has been doing, and I really like how it is exploring its concepts in meaningful ways, because I always feel that for me, the worst fear whenever someone wants to tell a what-if story is when I end up going, so everything is pretty much the same, but you just change some details around.
Do you like some of the ideas I gave for what if theme for Star Wars? Like especially like what if Anakin and Obi-Wan failed to save Padme from in the assassination attempt?
Like, yeah, I think that those things could provide different stuff with it, but you always have to consider not even just major effects, but you can also consider more minor effects that it could have. Like, I often use Episode 2, what if T'Challa became Star-Lord, because it didn't have just major things that changed, but also because what it could implicate was affected as well. So, for instance, the most major thing, potential spoilers, so just letting you know,
Yep.
where what happened was that the biggest thing was that T'Challa actually managed to prevent Thanos from wanting to use the Infinity Stones to snap half the universe away. Okay, but then that had some knock-on effects, where because of Thanos going straight and therefore not presumably not having Loki go and invade Earth, that therefore means the Avengers never got assembled because there was never a reason for them to. So therefore we saw Captain America's shield, so unfortunately he clearly died from there, and we saw Hela and some other Asgardian weaponry that was in the Collector's armory.
Though
so
I'm not
therefore
quite sure. I'm not quite sure if Captain America died in that timeline.
Just because his shield was there, so therefore it gives me the implication he was killed.
Fair. Yeah.
So, because it's honestly just always a thing where if a character's weapon or shield that is very intertwined with them is there, it's probably the fair sign that they were killed.
All right, that's fair.
So that it means that most likely he died, and it looks like the Asgardians probably also were killed by the Collector, because apparently he became way more extreme in this timeline.
And
so
swole, too. Holy
yeah,
shit.
very big as well. So therefore, that also ended up all happening, and also because since Peter Quill never managed to have the family that he would get in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, that therefore meant that when Ego showed up, he was able to do his own terrible things, which even the Watcher is worried that it could mean the end of that particular universe. However, since he says that's a story for another day, I'm hoping the rest of this season will go into more of that.
Yeah, because the episodes are short.
Yeah.
Most of the time it works, but it's just, I just want to see more.
I get you. I mean, Captain Carter certainly was something I want to see more of, but yeah, I take what I can get.
Yeah.
So for me, that's what I think of, though, when I think of what-if scenarios. That's why I use T'Challa becoming Star-Lord as a perfect encapsulation of what it means to make a what-if storyline, to show all the different things and how the characters become affected by it. Whereas when I've seen some of the things that I've seen, most famously I've been seeing, which is what if Luke and Leia end up swapping places.
That's just and
Leia was sent with Obi-Wan, but from what they're showing me, I just go, but what changed? Because if Episode 4 ultimately happened, then that therefore means that most likely all the other stuff happened.
Yeah, funny you should say.
It means Rebels most likely happened. It therefore means we can just say also that Rogue One probably also happened in this one.
Yep.
So at that point, what story are you telling me? Oh yeah, so they swap places, but basically Vader is redeemed by Leia instead of Luke. What does that tell me?
Nothing
of who
much.
They are?
Yeah. Do you also like my idea?
Whereas take Doctor Strange, for instance, in the what if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his mind?
Of his hands.
Of his hands.
Yeah.
He ended
up becoming like. Yeah, while it firstly it had the effects of the movie unchanged, what comes after is what that changed. So long story short, the 3 universes got destroyed thanks to his time travel shenanigans and absorbing demons and his good self, also from time travel shenanigans by the Ancient One. Comic books just go with it. Magic.
Yeah.
It's also magic. We don't have to explain it. You get the reference? It's what show. I'm gonna say Quesadilla because first of all, I don't recognize the name. Second, he made some pretty poor decisions when it comes to like how the comics turned out. Like One More Day.
But that's why I always use those instances, because yes, even if you could have events that largely transpired, like how the Doctor Strange episode clearly shows that the events of Doctor Strange still happen, but even still what happens after that is dramatically different from what we saw before. That's what you always want to have with it. So at that point, because I have to go. So if Luke apparently was taken by Bail, where he learned to be more of a politician instead of a Jedi, so I'm like, okay, that's something we could explore, but what is different about him? Because apparently he's in the same exact circumstances, and we're still seeing the entire film play out still. So what happens?
Yeah,
Is he
or
ultimately
what would happen?
he's Leia?
What would happen if, say, Kylo Ren kills Palpatine instead of aligning with him at first? What would happen then?
And yeah, you could have that whole thing where he could have, Kylo Ren could have actually even gone further to the dark side than he already was, and therefore it would have meant that Rey saving him may have not actually been a possibility.
Yeah. Did you say Leia, or it sounds like you said Rey? So just want to
Yeah, Rey. That's what I said with Rey, because it could have meant that she wasn't able to go and pull him back, though. Like it could easily have had that connotation.
Rey and
or if it was just like,
Rey
so
and
therefore there's lots of possibilities that you could have. So therefore, all right, or other stuff. Like as you mentioned, like what would happen if Anakin and Obi-Wan didn't end up saving Padme? Lots of political ramifications could have came with that, and maybe the Republic would have been way more bloodthirsty to go to war, and therefore it could have even had more ramifications, or even just have given Palpatine power outright, and may have even accelerated his plans sooner.
Or what if Paul was the one that came out of the wreckage on Jakku instead of Finn? That it would probably make the affiliates based on more somewhat the same, but if you think about it, Poe shows.
So that's what I mean with it, is because you don't want to have it where the answer to it is still ultimately things don't change, or they just got screwed.
Somewhat the same, but if you think, but Poe shows up at midpoint. But what if he was with like Rey instead?
So So that's why I always say that with things like these, that it's always a case where you just have to be able to always be able to come up with things that happen differently. And you don't want to have it to where it's ultimately, where the change ultimately just creates more minor alterations. You don't really want something like that.
Fair enough.
Which again, that's why I really like what Marvel's What If has been doing, because it genuinely seeks to go and say these things, but it also has morals attached. My most favorite one is actually from episode 3, What If Earth Lost Its Mightiest Heroes?
Oh yeah, with the murder mystery, I was like blown away by the twist.
But especially I love the Watcher's moral, which is that I believe in this universe, like in any universe, hope never dies, so long as someone keeps their eye on the big picture. Like, I really love what that's what the Watcher says when Nick Fury finds Captain America, where he says that I believe hope in this universe, just like any other, hope never dies. All it takes is just someone to keep their eye on the prize.
On the big picture, yeah. So what is your favorite episode at What If so far? Or episodes? If
favorite, I would say, is kind of tough for me, but I would say if there's a favorite, it would be somewhere between either episode 2 or 3. Because I honestly really like the assassination subplot, because I remember being frustrated watching it, because it just felt like it was all random. Like, I'm like, how are all these things happening, basically? And then when it was revealed that Hank Pym was doing it, I'm like, oh, that actually was something I didn't expect them to do. I didn't expect Hank would be the one to do it.
Yeah, suddenly everything makes sense. Oh, sorry for the spoilers. Murder mystery solved.
Yeah. Sorry. But, yeah, I mean, because when we do these things, it kind of just goes without saying that we talk about these things regardless. But, yeah, like, that's what I mean. It was like, that was a very unexpected choice, because I really wouldn't have, the last person I would have expected would have been Hank Pym. Yes, even if I'm not crazy on the reason he did so, it was ultimately still just a, you know what, whatever, at least we still got it regardless.
Yeah. Again,
it's always about what something made me feel rather than whether the machinery it used to get there. That's a more minor thing to me.
Yeah. A friend of mine actually saw it coming like halfway through the episode. It's like, oh, and it's like when certain people come, I said, oh, something to do with that man. Something to do with that man. I got really excited about that. And I feel stupid because partially I stayed up late. And
and even episode 3 carries its own connotations of what was changed, though. So apparently the divergence of it was that instead of the Odessa Ukraine mission being handled by Black Widow, instead it was by Hope Van Dyne. So therefore that creates other things where Loki seems to invade, not really with Thanos' help, but instead just with his own Asgardian army. Thor being killed on Earth meant that Loki was actually in a position to take over Asgard. So therefore, with those kind of connotations, it therefore ends up opening new possibilities for this universe. And who knows? Maybe Loki never even would have never had to have aligned with Thanos because he had an entire kingdom that he ran now.
Yeah.
So see, that's what I always mean by always keeping in mind of all the connotations of what these new things can do, which is always a great thing.
Yeah. Oh, and have you? Oh, speaking of Loki, the Loki miniseries, series, because there's going to be a second one.
It was a really great series, though, and I certainly really enjoyed it from what was
Yeah,
there.
same.
Although I do kind of find it funny how basically how the Marvel series always played fast and loose as to whether the multiverse existed. Rewatching Doctor Strange recently, they were all like, no, the multiverse absolutely, definitely exists, and Dormammu occasionally invades it here and there. And then it goes around to where Loki, and it's like, oh no, it hasn't existed for a really long time, and Loki just finally decided to unleash it again.
Serve and protect.
I found that bit admittedly kind of amusing, but this is why I say that why I don't care whether things are played out or not, because who cares? As long as the story is good, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, always have 12% of a plan, like Peter Quill would say. You get it?
I mean, because again, though, because I find that the thing about plans is that they never understand that for those, that even if you decide that, well, one, the problem with assuming your plans is immediately assuming you like it. I mean, the DCU absolutely was completely planned out. Like, Zack Snyder had everything from Man of Steel all the way to the third Justice League movie, but that doesn't mean you liked any of his vision by any means.
Yeah.
Like, he planted all the seeds. Logically, his series would have been completely logical in what steps to take, and you would have seen it from the beginning. But the problem, though, was that he focused way more on that than anything else. And the problem is that with doing these big plans that constrain you, you end up having it. And even it's a funny thing, because even in the first Avengers, they even, one of Thanos' informants even tells him that to fight the Avengers is to court Death, who does exist in this universe, at least as a celebrated figure. So therefore, Joss Whedon ended up initially going, oh, okay, so therefore Thanos is actually doing this like he did in the comics, where he kills a whole bunch of life in the universe because he wants to be able to be on Death's good side. And then Avengers Infinity War switched that to, oh no, he's actually doing this because of resource concerns. Which
Yeah, my brother isn't a fan of that. Yeah, my brother isn't a fan of that for some reason. It's like,
the Russos had, even though I'd say that they had a good enough explanation, which is that because Death hadn't been established in a meaningful capacity in any of the prior movies, trying to have the audience come into a piece where it would be like, oh yeah, we have to go and explain who this is, get the audience to love them, to like them, etc., where it would have just ended up hampering the film if they tried to do that. So I agree from a narrative point, it was best to do that, but it always just shows me that plans really never have that, because I always feel like Chief doesn't understand this part. Plans still largely require faith for you to do them, because I feel that with fiction often having these where characters are like, aha, I planned for if this would happen, etc. But in real life, plans don't really work out that way.
Yeah.
You come up with a strategy and you just have to hope it works. Because if you have to start second guessing if the thing will work, then your original plan should be revised. So for instance, if you're thinking, well, if you're even actively considering what happens if your director leaves, well then at that point you probably should be hiring that director if you're that concerned that they're going to leave by then.
yeah. Anyway, yeah.
So that's what I always say with it, and it's why I always say, you know what, just as long as the story is good, I don't really even care what you do with it, though, because, hey, we have the multiverse now, and it's a big thing, and now we're going to be exploring it in all the later movies, so...
And there's, have you seen the trailer for Far From Home yet?
I already saw it, and it's really enticing me to see where exactly it goes from here.
Yep.
Surprisingly, despite being what it shows, though, it's still being very cagey on what actually happens much.
Yeah, so my brother and I were talked about like Andrew Garfield's like answers, and it's like, well, he's in a bit of a shady situation. If he says that he's in the movie but lies about it, people are gonna call him out on it. Inverse, he's gonna get caught on it. If he's cagey about it, people will be disappointed. So what can you do but be cagey?
I mean, that's all he can do, because what else is he going to do otherwise?
Lie.
because he can only do what exactly he's allowed to do, and no way is he going to, no way would he just be like, yeah, I'm totally just going to go and allow myself to be in a situation where I would be, where things would be at fault, though. So instead, he does a very reasonable thing, the most reasonable thing he can do, just being like, are you in this? No, I'm not in this, just because it's better if the audience is surprised than being like, yeah, I'm totally in this.
Yeah. Yeah. So we saw Doctor Octopus in the trailer. Maybe saw glimpses of Sandman, Lizard, I think, and Electro. Well, a bit more based on his counterpart with the yellow lightning instead of blue.
Yeah.
Not a fan of the Amazing Spider-Man movies nowadays.
Yeah, but even still, having these other characters being brought in, though, is at least still something that is going to be in that connection bar, because if you're going to have a premise where it's basically the 3 Spider-Man team up, may as well bring the enemies that are most famous in those movies along with them.
Do you remember the twist regarding that first in Pietro in WandaVision, where it turns to be just
I still remember.
Just to be some dude? Wonder why they went that route.
I mean, probably just, I imagine, because the thing about that is, even if they don't ultimately have plans for things, the thing is that Marvel creatives and producers talk to each other, so therefore they often know what the other is doing, so therefore they may not have wanted to go the whole, this is actually the Quicksilver from the X-Men films, because they didn't establish that the multiverse existed yet, and they want to save that for Loki.
You know what? That makes sense.
Because that's the other element, because even though Marvel doesn't plan, per se, their stuff, the thing is that their creatives are always in talk with each other, so they do at least have some idea of what exactly they're going to do, which is also how characters often get negotiated for how to be able to happen, though, because the funny thing is that, yes, Marvel and Star Wars have their own departments that go and say, yeah, your character can be available for this. Like when Delilah Dawson wrote the Phasma novel, she wanted to include Kylo Ren, but she was told that she couldn't, though, just because the story group had plans for him in other stories. And Marvel does a similar, and there's a similar approach that Marvel does as well. So if, for instance, if James Gunn, it was just like, I don't know, in the Guardians film, that's like, hey, I really want Thor, then they could be like, oh, what other movies is Thor going to be in? And then can go, yeah, you know, you could have him.
Yep. Anyway,
so that's kind of how they go.
Yeah, let me think.
Because again, it's that thing where they have new ideas, and now, like, regardless of what was established before, and they're just like, hey, why don't we just go and do that? And I'm like, yeah, why not just go and do that?
Yeah, so the great thing about about what happened with Shang-Chi, I'm not gonna names, the movie, is that it did really well at the box office. Unfortunately, I'm just a little bummed out that it's only exclusive in theaters along with Eternals and other movies, because we're still in the pandemic. And people like Patty Jenkins' comments about, like, oh, the movies that are released on streaming services like Netflix, they're fake. Well,
because it's like, but if the movie theater is ultimately the main way of seeing the movie, then why exactly does it have to be by force that it ends up having it, though? Because yes, I love going to the movies, though, when I see people who make these things, which is like, trust me, I get it. I love going to the movies.
Yeah, same.
I recently just reinstated my AMC Stubs A-list, so me and my girlfriend can actually go and watch movies a lot, which we have been. And it's just that, and with this, that therefore allows us to where we're able to enjoy these. And you can bet I love going into a movie theater, grabbing concessions and having all that good stuff with it. I really love doing all that. Trust me, I get it. But what I understand is that I'm in a privileged position where I'm fully vaccinated. I also have my masks on me whenever I need to. And also that I'm in a privileged position where I could be able to go to the movie theaters whenever I want to.
Yep.
Whereas there's other people like my sister who is immunocompromised. She can't do that so safely. If she were to go to a movie theater, we would have to rent out the theater for her to do so.
Yeah, that's like, my mother has lupus and also has a fear of crowds. I also know friends
too.
I also have friends who have similar conditions or in similar positions, and also theaters can be really loud and obnoxious when you're dealing with people. So
Yeah, of course.
So having people be left out, like with disabilities that prevent them from going to movie theaters, it's just not the way to go.
And that's the other thing you mentioned, like with crowds, for instance. Like, yeah, if your mom were to see a movie that either isn't very big to begin with, or if it's a movie she's really looking forward to, then therefore it means that if she wants to go and see, like, say, the newest Star Wars movie, she's gonna have to deal with that theater being crowded. And if that gets her really anxious, then that means she has to wait possibly even like 2 weeks before she can decide to fully see it. But that also means that by those 2 weeks, the actual returns for the film can end up being diminished. Because I chose to see Shang-Chi on Sunday because I wanted it to be a part of its opening box office weekend. I wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah, saying that. So yeah, my brother and I went to see the movie, probably as a little early birthday gift, and he was feeling really down, had a bad week. So I thought, we can go see Shang-Chi. That'll work. And it did.
Yeah, that's what I mean with it. So that's why I'm very much a big fan of same day releases, where if you want to see it at home, you can pay like $30-something or $40 or because 30 seems to be the standard that they're going for it, and also because this can be great for low income families. Because after all, like a ticket is $15 each. If you have like a family of 5, like I have, then therefore it would mean that adds up fast.
Yeah, some
that
tickets
would be $75.
Some tickets range from 8 to 15. But yes.
And also, if you're doing a premium screening, like often I do with Dolby Cinema at AMC, that can cost you $20.
Holy shit, $20?
Yeah, AMC's Dolby Cinema costs $20. It's worth the money, and I really love it when I go and see action movies, but still, shit's expensive. And that's just the movie ticket price. Have you seen kids? They want snacks when they go into a movie theater, so that's extra money that you have to spend.
Yeah, the only exception that my mother made was the Avengers movie when Avengers Endgame. She wanted to see it so bad that she would she's actually kind of risking herself. Turned out fine. I also so back on Christmas, back in I think 2018, when my brother, a couple of his friends, and I went out to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. A big movie theater, I think it was IMAX. They just eluded me. It's been like 3 years, close to 3 years, yeah. When I was, so after we got out of the movie theater, I was like plagued with a nasty headache. I had to take like medication to alleviate it, and then like soda, and then I had to go to, I had to like go to sleep just to get rid of this headache. When I watched that movie on Netflix, I did not have these problems.
So yeah, you may have caught something from someone at the movie theater that was over there. Sure, absolutely, can happen.
Yeah, or it may have something to do with the effects of the movie, like being very bright, being very like full of flashing images, that sort of thing.
Yeah, of course.
Never had that problem with the other movies, except for maybe Speed Racer. I'm not quite sure.
Please do not interfere.
Which is why I always say that, like, at the end of the day, I always want to make sure streaming's there, because I want people to see movies for everyone. For instance, my girlfriend has actually started becoming more willing to go see movies, because the movies that she grew up seeing were basically very low budget, very iffy in their creation movies that were made. And so she thought that she just didn't like movies in general because of that. But when I started showing her good movies, like I took her to Black Widow and to Shang-Chi and to Candyman, she was like, wow, I really like these movies.
Candyman, how was that?
It was really good. I really liked the remake on it, honestly. I mean, it does a really good job with its premise. I overall liked what its themes were going for. It was just a very well-made movie, and I really liked what it went
Tony
for.
Todd was in that remake, right? Or remake?
He was, actually.
Remake, like sequel?
It honestly feels like more of a sequel to it than an actual remake, though, to me. I know they advertised it as a remake, but it feels way more like an outright sequel, since it seems that Tony Todd's Candyman was still ultimately all the things in that movie happened.
Huh.
So, I admit, it's kind of a curious thing why they went with saying it was a remake instead of a sequel, because you could honestly put the so-called remake in conjunction with the other films, and nothing would have really been contradicted.
It's kind of like it has like same approach to the Halloween movie from 2018, like 3 years ago.
Whereas the 2018 film, that said everything that wasn't the first movie does not happen. Laurie Strode is not Michael Myers' brother, unless they establish that no, it is in this one still. That isn't happening. There also isn't other things like how trying to think of this, where also other things like how there isn't anything like the other movies happening. Like Michael Myers actually was captured after the first movie and was there for like decades,
like
basically.
or like a part of a cult. That's so weird.
Yeah. So that's what I mean with it, though. The trailer seems to imply that there is something supernatural that may be going on in Michael, but again, until the movie comes out, maybe it just is something that
Halloween
they just
Kills,
think
if
rather than
anyone's
something that's
wondering.
there.
Halloween Kills,
Yeah.
For clarification's sake.
So for me, that's why with things like that, I'm just like, so yeah, that is what I think of when I think of an actual remake, whereas the other one just feels more like a sequel, really. At least from what I read up of what happens in it. So that's what I mean with it. And so back to what I was saying for movie accessibility, yeah, that's what we have to have. Look, I truly get the theater experience. I love that. I go to my theater all the time because I want to make sure that they're supported. I always buy concessions from them, even if I'm not hungry or even really caring for snacks too much. Well, I always care for snacks, but even if I'm not hungry, because I still want to make sure the theater is supported, and I know that concessions are the greatest way to keep them supported. So again, I get it, but even still, we need to make sure that people who watch movies shouldn't be barred from it because of accessibility.
Yeah, which really makes comments like from I believe was from Christopher Nolan, who has actually left Warner Brothers to work for Universal so he can work on for his Oppenheimer movie.
I just felt like during the whole Tenet thing, saying of having to be in theaters, I just felt like he was just being a giant jerk throughout the whole thing. It's just like, dude, come on, you can release your movie on streaming.
It's not gonna kill you. Just in tight.
Thank you. I have no doubt that Christopher Nolan will probably come back to Warner Brothers in the near future. I'm sure that they'll patch things up since these things are never permanent.
Violation of hotel policies may result in detention, removal.
Sorry, just thinking. Oh, I'm going to do like daily ops. Okay, let's do
I'm gonna call it for this. I'm just gonna call it for this night because it's starting to get late, and we've been at this for like an hour and a half now. So we'll definitely do another play and talk session for next week for sure, and
hopefully
really
next week if life didn't get in the way.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was really nice playing with you, Nord, and hopefully, and definitely plan on playing with you again soon.
Yeah, it's when the last time we played? Like it was like, wow,
it was months ago.
Yeah,
months ago.
For this week, so much that happened over the past few months. We didn't really talk a lot of like what transpired.
Yeah. That was definitely it, though. So that's why I plan to start like getting the series back up to a regular pace. That'll be the plan for this.
Yeah. So which day of the week would be best for you for play and talk?
For me, I would say probably Tuesday, since I work in the mornings and then I come back in the afternoons, and I prefer to have Monday and Wednesday where I spend it doing other things. So I would say Tuesdays would be best.
Alrighty. Okay.
All right. Well, I'll see you around, Nord.
All right. See you later.
Have
we'll be rating someone. Just give me a second. Whoop. Oh, before we go, here's a fun thing about the upcoming D&D book. One of the races that'll be out for the book. The Wildlight Beyond. What's it called again? Feywild Fight ebook. The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, a Feywild adventure. The rabbit. So one of the races is called Herengon. Or Herengon. You know the bunny race. You get the pun.
I know.
You get the pun.
Yeah.
And also another thing that I found interesting was for D&D was like someone made a module for D&D 5th edition, where you essentially visit Tony Stark's place.
Good afternoon, sir.
I always thought that was a little bit on the nose, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Anyway, gonna go head out though. Really
right.
nice playing with you, Nord, and we'll play next week.
Hopefully, yeah. See you later.
Yeah.
And then we'll be raiding someone, right? Okay. Raid. And here we go. Okay, give it a couple seconds. And here we go.